Then sometime in the spring of 2001, I think it was, I was told about Dr. Stephen Greer's upcoming Disclosure Project conference at the National Press Club in DC. And he was a man who'd spent years gathering together the most incredible UFO witness list, interviewing them, bonding with them, respecting their anonymity when required. And as I listened to him speak with like true passion and eloquence about the subject, he became an instant hero to me, instant hero. Right up there with the likes of Linda Moulton Howe, Bud Hopkins, Stanton Friedman, and many, many others in the UFO field. It was an amazing body of evidence, and all from the mouths of mature retirees in the main, who held positions ranging from radar hardware engineers to US Air Force lieutenant colonels and above, generals. And these people were from all of the armed forces right across the board, as well as witnesses from the intelligence community. It really was a fantastic collection of people telling their stories. I bought the Disclosure Project book, wanting to know more of these people's stories, and more importantly to use the book for intelligence gathering on possible locations that were internet connected and had something to do with the UFO cover-up. And having read the book, as far as I was concerned, Dr. Greer's star witness in this concern was Donna Hare. Here was a woman who'd been inside one of NASA's sanitizing labs, where they regularly remove UFOs from satellite and spacecraft imagery. She was an image specialist. I think she was doing launch lines at the time. And she said that the lab she saw was in Building 8 of Johnson Space Center. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. It was amazing. I had a physical location that was fairly specific, down to the building that the lab was in. She said she'd been in the lab and been shown one of the photographs by one of her colleagues, which he shouldn't have really done, because that should be secret compartmented as well, but thank God he did, because now we know. But how do you get into a network like that? And it turned out to be all too easy, far too easy. I wish it hadn't been easy, then I wouldn't be here today. And one method NetBIOS uses for access to any network resource is the standard username and password combination. And the administrator username, the administrator account, is the most powerful account on the PC, apart from the system itself. And it has access to almost anything. So it was obvious to me that I had to scan the JSC Johnson Space Center network, looking for PCs that accepted NetBIOS connections, and then see if they had either weak passwords or unset passwords on the administrator accounts. And it was quite a quick scan. It didn't take long. A surprising number of PCs responded to NetBIOS probes, and also returned administrator accounts that had no password set. Not just a weak password like password itself, literally no password, blank.
Private Pile, if there is one thing in this world that I hate, it is an unlocked footlocker. You know that, don't
you? Excuse me. So it was very easy to set up a tunnel between me and the remote PC that I could use to install remote control software, a bit like PC Anywhere. So it's literally like you're there on the screen, like you're sitting at the monitor of the other computer. You can use a mouse, interact with the desktop, etc. Before installing the remote control software, I first had to find out which PCs were in Building 8. This was accomplished by using NetBIOS command again to list the PCs on the remote network. Luckily for me, NASA's IT people were very diligent in the hardware auditing. Every PC had location information as well as serial numbers and the like for auditing purposes. So it didn't take long to compile a list of Building 8 machines that also had administrator accounts that had no password set. I installed the remote control software on the first PC in the list, logged on and looked at the desktop, which was fairly minimal, if I recall correctly, but had two interesting folders, just like Donna said. One was called RAW and the other was called Processed, or similar words, I can't remember exactly. I double-clicked on the RAW folder, and there was a huge list of files, many of them being over 200 megabytes in size, which was quite large back in dial-up days, because it took about 5 or 6 minutes just for 1 megabyte back then. I considered transferring a few of the files in one go, but thought I'd best inspect one of them first. I can't remember the file extension, but it was a proprietary NASA format, not one of the common image formats. So I just double-clicked one of the files, and the associated imaging software launched, and I waited, and then I waited, and then sort of line by line, very slow, very jerky, the image started appearing on the screen, but it was painfully slow. So I shut down the imaging software. I turned the color down to 4 bits, possibly 2 bits, so you get a lot less color. Turned the resolution down to, I think, 640 by 480. In order to get a look at this image as quickly as possible, in low color, low resolution, and then download it, then close the connection. So I thought I had plenty of time. I thought I was going to watch this, then transfer it across. I launched the image again, and it was still painfully slow, but it was a few times faster than it was the first time round. And the top section of the image just seemed to be like a muddy sort of black and grey. But then the hemisphere of a planet started to appear. And I began to see like cloud formations, I don't remember seeing any recognizable terrain or any terrain at all. I just assumed it was Earth because it was, white clouds, and the muddy darkness was obviously the space above Earth. And then the craft began to appear. The first thing I saw was the top of the dome, because although it was classic cigar-shaped, it had these sort of geodesic golf ball, like radar domes above and below. And no features of the craft at all, no insignia, no rivets, no seams, no sign of your standard man-made manufacturing at all. Very smooth, one-piece object. Then I jumped to my seat because the mouse started to move, on its own. It obviously wasn't moving on its own. Someone who was physically at the machine had seen what I was doing, and they moved the mouse pointer over to the network icon in the system tray, right-clicked it, and chose disconnect. I couldn't believe it, as I was watching. I hadn't even seen the whole image yet, and I'd been disconnected. So that was my eureka moment, but I also lost connection at the same time. But I had seen it. I found exactly what Donna Hare had said would be there, exactly where she said it would be, a sanitizing lab in Building 8 of Johnson Space Center that processed the imagery. And the first image I looked at featured some kind of exotic craft. So it was confirmation in my eyes. It was confirmation of Donna Hare's amazing story. I also found another piece of evidence. I think it was on a Navy network. I can't quite remember. It supports the secret space fleet theory. It was an Excel spreadsheet entitled Non-Terrestrial Officers. I don't know if that was the file name or just the title once you were in the spreadsheet. It had names, ranks, ship names, list of materiel, spelled at the end, materiel, meaning military materials, chemicals, like exotic sounding chemicals that were under ship-to-ship transfers and fleet-to-fleet transfers. So, quite an exotic document. It was almost like you'd found the admin office of the secret space program. Non-terrestrial officers. That I googled the phrase at the time; it was nowhere to be found. And now, if you Google it, it's just in connection with my story. That's still in my hard drive in Washington, and the office of the ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. I don't think I'll see that drive again. And just to set one thing straight. I don't remember any of the ship names. I've seen a few people on YouTube and the web that say, "Oh, he saw, the USS such and such," but that's not true. I don't remember any of the names. And that's my story. Thank you for listening. For dickheads like you, there wouldn't be any thievery in this world, would there?
Sir, no, sir!